Okay, we will mute everybody. Okay, everybody's muted now, so we'll unmute you then at the end.
I can chat you.
Oh, okay, you can give me a chat if you are desperate to ask a question in the middle of it. Do they see this now? Okay. Okay. Randy's here helping me on the technical side. So again, as I was starting to say, it's really the same topics we covered last year. We do have quite a few new delegates this year, and we thought it would be a good idea to bring everybody up to speed from where we were last year. The topics that we're going to cover tonight came out of town hall meetings at the end of 2013, early 2014, that some delegates really felt they were not familiar with the purpose of their roles. So we wanted to hold this webinar or conference call to just try to level the playing field, everybody know where they fit in the organization, and go from there. I will apologize if this is just very basic for some people, but the takeaway we had from the town hall meetings over a year ago is there really are some delegates who aren't as well versed in Girl Scouting as others, and so we really would like to bring everybody up to a higher level. Okay. So Girl Scouts 101. The slide that I have up now is really a little bit of background about Girl Scouts of the USA. If everyone wasn't completely familiar about it, you should have learned most of this in basic leader training, or maybe have the takeaways from when you were a Girl Scout yourself. What's very interesting to point out is that, Girl Scouts or GSUSA, is our chartering organization of Girl Scouts Heart of New Jersey, and they are the ones that produce all the program material, the uniforms, set the program. They really are our oversight of our organization. And we have heard over the years, and as a leader, sometimes you may not love some aspects of the materials that we have, but that is really a national issue, not a council issue. So we hear you sometimes, and we just have to work with what we have. We do encourage everyone to get involved and work with the program that we currently have. The next slide, this is a little snapshot, both geographically of what our council geographic footprint is, and as well how many people we currently have in the organization. We span from the Delaware River to the Hudson River in the 7 counties that we have up here. We have all of Hudson, all of Essex, all of Union, all of Somerset, all of Hunterdon, and parts of Warren and Middlesex. And that pulls us together to have nearly 17,000 registered girls as of just a little bit before Christmas, and almost over 9,000 registered adults and lifetime members. The next slide is a bit of the organizational chart that my background is business, so I always like the organizational chart to know where we fit in. And as we mentioned, Heart of New Jersey is one of 112 councils, so we all feed up into GSUSA. Our governing body here is we do have a board, but then underneath you have the service units and then the troops. And that's really how we deliver our service. The role of our board, and this is straight out of our bylaws, which everyone should have, it's available on the website. And this is just a recap of what we really do. We help manage the affairs of the corporation. That's really more the business side of it, and make sure that we are in compliance with our charter and in compliance with state law. Like a for-profit corporation, the board is responsible really on a macro level for the council from a business perspective to make sure we fulfill our mission and comply with laws. A little bit about who the board of directors are. We're all volunteers. We're doing this because we believe in the mission of Girl Scouts. We try to, I've been on board development before, we try to represent as much of the demographics of the council as we had, both geographically, the age of the adults in the program, representing, we like to have people both from urban and suburban and more rural parts of the council if possible. We really like to see, we like to have some board members who have had, operational experience as a troop leader or service unit manager. 5 of the individuals on the board now have been service unit managers, including myself and Nancy Falks, our board chair. And we have elected officers, but then we also have 10 to 18 members at large. Let's see. So those of us that have been operational volunteers, we understand the challenge of what you face. And one thing I would note is that if you want to get involved in the council, you can more on the governance, the board side. If you want to remain an operational volunteer, however, you can't be a board member. So, it's considered a conflict of interest that you're managing yourself. But you can get involved in committees, quite a few of them, to share your talents before you're ready to give up your operational role. And that's really where I did. I came into the council on the finance committee, which is my background. But we need people on the finance committee, the audit committee, fund development, board development, and even the governance task group. We have, quite a few members that are, not board members on these committees. So if you're interested, you can, contact me offline and send Randy an email. Board Development Committee. This is actually a very important committee. I mean, this is where we, really get our future board members and vet people for all the different committees. And I did serve on this committee when my daughter was still in a troop in high school. So we definitely like to have we try to have close to half of the board development committee members be from the community. And that brings us now then to our delegates. That's you. Just wanted to mention a brief note of how our delegates differ from the national delegates, which we have there's the convention in, it was in Salt Lake City a little over a year ago. And, our national delegates, we have, GSUSA has their national convention every 3 years. We have our annual meeting annually every year. You guys are really going to be the eyes and the ears, and I'd also say the mouths of our membership, which are our biggest stakeholders. And I list here basically what your duties are is to, attend the annual meeting where we have bylaw changes many years. This year we actually will not have any proposed bylaw changes, and where we elect our officers and directors. You're also really the conduit to bring any concerns from the service units from a governance perspective to the governance task group, or to the board chair, even if you don't feel that you're being heard. Provide feedback in determining the direction of the movement, and this is just really how we are positioning the council from a business perspective. And then you need to take back the information that you learn in the annual meetings and the town halls back to the service units. I like to say, Girl Scouts Heart of New Jersey, our delegates, we're kind of like the U.S. Senate. Each service unit has the same number. Everybody has 2. Even if your service unit only has 50 girls or you have 500 girls, every service unit has 2 delegates. At GSUSA, their delegates are determined more like the House of Representatives. The more girls you have, the more votes you have above a baseline. We all think back to civics class. Every state gets 1 U.S. representative, and then incrementally you get more based on your population or your girls. And this is how GSUSA is structured. The duties of the delegates, though, for the National Council, they're the same. It's really you're representing and voting for your organization. You would be representing the council. And not just your service unit at the GSUSA. annual meeting, and this is where bylaw changes for GSUSA are made at the National Convention. Okay. A few words on governance versus management. Really, this slide I have up now, the governance versus management, this is the 10,000-foot snapshot of the difference. Governance is really the macro, the strategic, long-range focus on, what we're going to do presently and into the future, and set our goals long-term. Management, or really where our employees, is just the how. How are we going to reach those goals? How are we going to operate within the budget that is set by the board? How will we get to these cookie goals? How will we get these membership goals that all ties into cookies? It's very hands-on. They're the micro-focus, the day-to-day operational people. Some of the examples I have here. The board, for example, we don't dig into the weeds and talk about exactly what's going to be offered what week at camp at Hoover. How many weeks of horseback riding. The board doesn't really focus on that. We leave that in Deb Hooker's and the other camp staff's hands. We don't make employee decisions on what field execs cover which service unit or how many they cover. Again, this is a management issue. And we don't make any employee hiring or firing decisions. The only employee that works for the board is the CEO. And as a delegate, you are really on the left side. You're on the governance side of this equation when you have your delegate hat on. As a troop leader, you can have other hats on, but as a service unit delegate, you're on the left side of this. I'm just going to check and see if I have any questions so far, or any chats. No chat. Okay. The last topic I wanted to cover is parliamentary procedure. A lot of people may think this is boring, but my little story about this is I really kind of owe my life and where I am today to Robert's Rules of Order, because I met my husband at a student congress in my junior year, both our junior years in high school. So I probably wouldn't be here today living in New Jersey if it wasn't for Robert's Rules of Order. So if you're not familiar with parliamentary procedure, I mean, this is really the way that business meetings and all legislative bodies operate across the country, and even in England. These are rules that are set up. A lot of times you may not know you are operating under Robert's rules, but that is really the governing source that everyone goes to. It provides order, fairness, decorum. There are ways to, you can call members out of order if people are speaking out of turn. That said, it does protect the right of minorities and the absentees and members. People are allowed to be heard under Robert's Rules of Order. However, it does not allow for majority rule. For example, the U.S. Senate isn't completely under Robert's Rules of Order because they can have their filibusters. You would really not be allowed, Robert's Rules of Order would really not allow a filibuster per se. I mean, you don't see filibusters on the U.S. House floor. Again, just an overview. Everybody has equal rights and privileges. You have to have a quorum, so you do have to have a critical mass of the group to act. And that's what we do have our tellers at our annual meeting to make sure we do have enough service units, represented and enough delegates there in order for the business we transact at our annual meeting to be valid. There is full and free discussion of every motion. That is your basic right. You can have standing rules that do, at the beginning of the meeting, allow for some time limits to be set on, and that's just so everybody, again, has equal rights. Not one person will dominate the the discussion. When we talk about only one question, and you may hear we're really not going to have many questions or motions at this year's annual meeting, but the term question is not how we think of it on a day-to-day basis. The question in Robert's Rules of Order is really the term for the motion or the item being discussed. And just the rest of the slide talks about some of the other points here. You know, you do have to have a 2/3 vote to, you know, deprive a member of a right to cut off debate. Robert's Rules of Order is about a 2 to 3 inch thick book, so it's we could have a 4-hour webinar on Robert's Rules of Order and not even scratch the surface. The topic here, handling a motion, I don't want to say it's a moot point. We will have our board slate is a motion, but we will not be having the any bylaw changes proposed this year. As the governance task group really looked at the issues we've been focused on, there was nothing that we had come to a conclusion that we felt we wanted to bring before the membership. I know some of you, if you were on last year or attended the annual meeting, we did talk about having girl delegates as being able to vote. There is an issue with New Jersey state law that we're struggling with. Just as a real sidebar here, minors who are, the girls that are not 18 yet, a minor can rescind their vote on anything up to the age of majority and then for a reasonable time thereafter. The pro bono attorneys we worked with really couldn't completely define to us what the reasonable time thereafter was. So we were concerned that, there are some issues that will be brought before the delegates that having to rescind a vote, sometimes you couldn't do it. I mean, and it would really throw us into some legal limbo. For example, mergers are something that are brought to the delegates. Some bylaw changes, if you had to go back and retroactively change them, it would be just problematic. And so we're recognizing everybody on the board, or at least the governance task group, are sympathetic, and we want to find a way to work through this. I mean, one way is to limit the number of girls that can be delegates. So, but again, since we're currently at 2 delegates per service unit, and not everybody shows up, if you start doing the math, it can be a problem. And just to give you a little bit of that background. But this is talking about how you handle the motion. I'm not going to go through that in great detail. Again, the next page really gives you the priority of motions. And I do think what's quite interesting is, the first, the highest priority is adjournment. So, you could open the meeting and adjourn it right away. And it's not debatable and it's not amendable. So. I guess I'm kind of a nerd, and I find that kind of entertaining. But as we go through, you have it's right here in front of you. I don't think I need to go through that again. And the next page is just some other, the other priority of motions. And again, the farther down this list you go, the lower the priority. That's really all I had. I'm going to now try to get in, and I'm going to have to unmute everyone. Randy, you want to help me? Your attendees here? No? Oh, I hope I didn't kick anybody out. Shoot to the bottom. Okay. All the green ones. Yeah. Good, everyone's still on. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to be unmuting people. And again, if you we'll queue people up to ask questions. If you have some background noise in your home or where you are, if you could put your own individual phone on mute, the group would appreciate that. Okay, Rena's going to keep clicking while I'll ask for if anybody has questions on what we covered tonight. And if you ask a question again, we're not queuing well, so let's try to respect everybody, and we'll try to. I'm here. I got all night, so I can take as many questions as we have. So does anyone have any questions? We're trying to open your lines up as quickly as possible. So. Now, I received my delegate mailing today. Did other people? I know they've all gone out. Okay. Everybody's unmuted. Do we have any questions?
What if we didn't receive our mailing?
Well, you know what, my mail was delivered at 5 o'clock tonight, and it was there. If you haven't received it within by, the middle of next week, I would say contact Randy.
Okay, 5 days.
Yeah, if you don't get, by next week, I know both those off. Well, she mailed it from South Brunswick, and I'm in Maplewood, and I got it. So I would say yes. If you don't have it, today's Wednesday. If you don't get it, contact Randy on Monday. Yeah, and everybody you received it via email also. But the bylaws here require we do paper notification, unless you opt out. Are there any other questions?
Hi, this is Josephine Emanuele. Do I get a vote or not? I'm almost 18, so my reasonable time would be very short, and I'm also a national delegate.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I think there's some background noise going on here.
This is Josephine Emanuele. I was just wondering if I got a vote. Because I'm a national delegate.
Are you over 18?
In 3 months?
Count.
If you're not over 18, you will not have a vote for our corporation. I'm sorry. My daughter was in your same boat. She was a national delegate. So, we really would like to, but again, under New Jersey state law, we've been advised by our attorneys that delegates under girls cannot have a vote at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other questions?
I'm actually 16, so at the meeting, would I be able to have a vote? I know I wouldn't be able to, but what would happen?
Once you turn 18, if you are still a national delegate, at that point, yes, you would be able to vote. You will have a vote.
I still have to attend the meeting, though, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I still have to attend the meeting, though, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but you have a 3-year term that started at last year's annual meeting. So if there are annual meetings during your term, but after you've turned 18, you will have the ability to vote.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Hi, are there any other questions? Or
This is Val Lastowski here. I have a suggestion.
Okay.
I have a suggestion. When you send out the webinar email, I think you should instruct everyone that if they're not speaking, to mute themselves with a microphone. And then once they stop speaking, they should mute themselves with a microphone. And you should actually add that in so that you don't have to listen to people chewing and rustling papers and all that other good
I mean,
stuff.
not everybody has the mute button possibly on their phone. I think that's a great suggestion.
So the webinar control panel doesn't pop up for everyone? It just pops up if I have a Mac, or because there's a whole control panel here that has, microphone. It has all sorts of things on it that you can use.
That's my control panel. You can probably see my mouse right now. We
Yeah, but-
control that.
No, I'm controlling it. I clicked on it and I muted myself.
I also have one that I have one that I can mute also, and usually when you call in a conference line, it says to mute your line during the conversation, it's *6 and then *6. I have to agree, it's impossible to hear anything.
Yeah, I mean, people are chewing and rustling papers and listening to TV.
Yeah,
Right,
I
we're
mean, I
working on
agree. We ask people to do that, but, that's why we had everybody on a muted line until the Q&A.
Right, but if you send it in your email that you're sending out and prepping them and say, please, click on the microphone icon if you're speaking, or once you stop speaking, then click on it again and mute yourself, I think that might be helpful. Just a suggestion, that's all.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions with regards to this? I'm hoping everybody's getting up to speed. I guess, I kind of last chance, or we'll see everyone at the annual meeting. Great. Well, hearing nothing further, I thank everybody for joining us this evening. And again, if you have any follow-up questions, issues you really want to discuss in the open forum, contact Randy. I would say the governance email that we have is unfortunately fairly spammed up, so even when I do check it, it's hard to spam. But if you contact Randy with an issue, she can pass it along to me. It's probably really going to be right now the best way to do that.
Okay.
But thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing everybody at the annual meeting in March.